This is the Kick-Ass Geek Cast, and I am your host, Daddy Warpig. I am back. That's right, the Kick-Ass Geek Cast for Monday, November 17th, 2014. Broadcasting, as always, from a secret bunker deep underneath the House of Geekery. You can catch us online, daddywarpig.com. Once again, that is daddywarpig.com. Or follow me on Twitter at daddy_warpig, at daddy_warpig. The Kick-Ass Geekcast broadcast live Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, and archived on YouTube at the same exact link shortly after that. One quick note. I, your host, am going into the hospital tomorrow for a minor outpatient operation. So there will be no show tomorrow night. I'm sorry. I did everything I could to get it set up to where I could do my show, but the doctors insisted the surgery has to go forward as scheduled. So no show tomorrow night. But for tonight, we've got a great show for you, jam-packed with so much material. I don't know how I can get through it, even with my razor-sharp mind and magnitude of talent. Censorious Scumbags is the title of tonight's broadcast, and we have got to move very, very quickly. Let's talk about Wham! Wham is Women, Action, and the Media. It was founded by, the board of Wham is controlled, has a member who also founded Jezebel, Jezebel being a subsidiary of Gawker. There are 7 people who sit on this board. I said to you yesterday, I was repeating some bad information. I got apologies for that. 7 people sitting on this board who controls Wham, one of whom founded Jezebel, which is one of the imprints of Gawker Media. Why does that matter? Well, Wham has been given special, unique, privileged access to Twitter's harassment reporting tool. They alone, of any organization on the planet outside of Twitter, have the ability to apparently at will kick people off the site. And this reporting tool is being abused. It is supposed to be used for incidences of harassing women and minorities, but it is being abused to kick off anybody anti-scum don't like, particularly the anti-scum who uses Pedo Bear as their icon. The butthead, you know who I'm speaking of. So Wham has a board member who belongs to Jezebel, Gawker, who owns Jezebel, being one of the primary targets of the consumer movement currently occupying the Gamergate hashtag. Gawker having lost tens of thousands, this is a direct quote from someone who writes for Gawker, tens of thousands, maybe millions of dollars due to actions by pros, that is, by those people who are pro-gaming, pro-gamer, and pro-ethics. Gawker losing money, Gawker being a crime family, Gawker now having an employee. I don't know if she's a current employee, but at the very least she has close ties to Gawker, in charge of an organization who is given unique power to, in effect, censor users of Twitter and who has already abused that power in several instances, knocking off Senpai, and Anon is fine too, knocking off Roguestar in all of his alts, twice. After being reinstated, they knocked him off again, falsely reporting harassment, falsely reporting that they were engaged in targeted abuse and aggressive following. The hell that means. Falsely reporting harassment, falsely reporting abuse, just to censor prominent members of the pros. This, I find, to borrow a little bit of language from the SJWs, this I find concerning. It concerns me when a radical SJW organization possessing a board member who is themselves a radical SJW with close ties to a corrupt media organization is given unilateral power over banning people from Twitter. Now, I'm not announcing the twit apocalypse. I'm not saying, everybody panic, run for the exits. Oh my God, it's over, it's over, it's over. I'm not saying that, because we have seen at least one of Roguestar's accounts get reinstated. That is the company account for his current independent games project, FleetCom. So Twitter has shown a limited amount of ability to override blatantly dishonest and false user bannings or quote-unquote suspensions because of this action, because of the actions of this cabal of censorious SJW scumbags. But at the same time, and Anon is fine too, Senpai is not reinstated, as far as I know, at least by the time I went to air. And there's another user who I'm not familiar with, and so I never remember their name, and I apologize deeply for that, who is also in the Twitter gulag. This is crap. This is censorship. And I know people are going to say, no, only the government, blah, blah, blah. No, I get that, okay? I get that. Thank you for the definition from the dictionary. I appreciate that. If you don't like the word censorship, let me substitute the following phrase. This is silencing unpopular voices who are speaking the truth. Okay? If you don't like censorship, if it bugs you that I use the term censorious, just imagine what I'm actually saying is silencing unpopular voices that speak the truth. By the way, after you do that 2 or 3 times, you'll understand why I use the word censorship, because it's easier. And I only have 140 characters on Twitter, and using that entire phrase uses up most of them. So, yes, pedants, don't complain that I use a word that you don't like in a manner that you don't like it. But wait, there's more. Just today, I found out that Alex Hinckley, that is Xander 756, was fired from Star City Games, a gaming website. SJWs went through his entire Twitter account and found a tweet from weeks ago where he used the word faggot to describe a friend of his in reference to playing a specific game. Now, Star City Games is the same website that publishes people like Tate, Jordy Tate. If you remember the infamous Insanitate Nazi murder death rant, it was because he thought he was being censored sorry, pedants, censored by Star City Games. The Nazi murder death rant, where he ranted against Star City Games. Apparently, they were fine with him up until he ranted against Star City Games. He has also been let go, according to Alexander Hinckley. One word. Alexander Hinckley used one word, faggot, to describe a friend of his in a game. This same word was pointed out to me also means meatball. And I pointed out that a faggot is also a bundle of sticks. And let me quote Wikipedia, because this is great. A bundle of sticks that is 3 feet, 0.91 meters in length, and 2 feet, 0.61 meters in circumference. A bundle of sticks plus a meatball. And yet, because he used it in a way they didn't like, they fired him once, used one word once. Now that seems to me to also be the actions of a censorious individual, someone who wishes to silence an unpopular voice. And Xander 756 is a frequent commenter on the pro side. He is not as prominent as other members of the pros, but he is still frequent and has cogent and intelligent remarks to make. In specific, he has been involved in the game industry and has a lot of information about corruption that is currently being divulged to a pro journalist. And for this, they get him fired. The SJWs, the antis, get him fired. Censorious. People who are employing, who like or love censorship. But wait, there's more. The block list, while not being censorship, is nonetheless a nice virtual hug box. And I'm saying this not to point out that they're censorious. I'm saying this to establish something, because this next example is a brilliant piece of proof of how far they will go to silence voices they don't like. You may remember the Gamergate in 60 Seconds video, which I felt was brilliant. I loved it. I sent that link out to a number of people. That was made by Leo Pirate, at the Leo Pirate. Well, he tweeted earlier today this. Check out this anti-feminist, misogynistic tweet I made that got me added to the block list. And let me read the offending tweet. Streaming more hashtag Zoe the second runner tonight at 10 p.m. EST on my hashtag Twitch TV channel. Twitch.tv Leo_pirate. Be there. That's it. That's it. That's literally the entire tweet. And because of that single tweet, Leo Pirate got added to the SJW Hugbox block list. That's all it takes to get you marked as a bad thinker. All right? That's all it takes to get you marked as an enemy of the people. To tweet the name of one person peripherally involved in Gamergate. So when I say censorious, it is not just a description of what they want to do to people whose voices they dislike. It is also a description of how psychotically oversensitive these censorious scumbags are. That is enough to make them want to censor you. And I assume, I presume, I deduce that when they add you to the block list so they never have to read you, they would just as soon be deleting your account from Twitter. That is my conclusion. You may disagree with that. I don't care. If they want to block you, they want to remove you from Twitter. They just can't, or at least couldn't, until Wham hoved into view, given special dispensation by Twitter. One last thing that I talked about on Friday, Shirtstorm, where a scientist who sent a probe 300 million miles through space and landed it on a comet was abused and harassed because of the shirt he wore. If you're willing, either as an organized mob or, as is more likely, a spontaneous outburst of psychotic rage, to assault and attack a scientist for the shirt he's wearing, demand that he not wear it, I have to conclude that you are censorious and want to see him censored. Random Fox tweeted an image earlier, an image where feminists were burning copies of C.H. Summers' book, The War on Boys. Once again, book burning, censorious. If you're willing to burn books, you're willing to censor people. Now, I'm not going to go off on a Godwin's Law rant. I'm not comparing them as other people have done. Yet at the same time, if you're willing to burn books, you're willing to censor the person who wrote those books. Censorious. I am establishing this point beyond a reasonable doubt so that you will understand when I go into the next segment of the show that I'm serious and that I'm right. Well, let's go into the next segment of the show. Michael Cernovich, Play Dangerously, tweeted an excerpt from Chu's rant, Rage Against Gamergate's Hate Machine, What I Got for Speaking Up. Author Chu, who spent months hurling abuse and defamation and bile at Gamergate, got the chance to write a self-serving, whiny little punk rant on the Daily Beast. This is so typical of SJWs. I'm being oppressed! I'm being oppressed! When the entire media is giving you a platform to operate from. Listen, I'm censoring myself because the first three words that sprung to mind were all vulgarities or profanities. And so I'm censoring all of those. I think I'm down to jackass right now. Listen, you Jeopardy-winning jackass. If you're whining in an article, not a comment that you stick in discus down at the bottom of something, but your own opinion column on the Daily Beast, you've been given a chance to whine and piss and moan about your racist harassment of Not Your Shield. You're not actually being oppressed. That is not oppression. An aid worker being beheaded by ISIS, that is oppression. North Korean insane leader murdering his uncle by sicking a pack of dogs on him to rip him to shreds so he dies in incredible pain, so he bleeds out. That is oppression. Sitting your fat ass down in a comfy chair, typing up an article that gets published on the Daily Beast, that is not oppression. You are not being oppressed, you whiny punk. Now, you may wonder why I use the term whiny punk. I strongly considered using the term whiny bitch, but then I thought, well, that might possibly, maybe, could be triggering to any SJWs who mistakenly tune into this broadcast, so I will be polite to even those SJWs, members of my audience, and use punk instead of bitch. But I want you to know, in my heart of hearts, what I really wanted to call Arthur Chu was a whiny bitch. So this whiny punk whines on the Daily Beast, and what he says is very illuminating. It is this: I don't think very highly of the David Pakman show. Even though, as a left-wing progressive, I should think of Pakman as on my side, he seems to enjoy doing sensationalist, clickbait interviews for the attention and the fireworks without considering whether they make any positive impact. So let me translate that into real-world terms. He is saying that David Pakman, a journalist, should consider whether or not his interviews, his honest, unbiased, straightforward interviews, should have a quote-unquote positive impact before he broadcasts them. What this means is an impact that agrees with Chu's politics. So what he's saying, his standard for the news media is that they must support his politics. And if they don't support his politics, they're doing something wrong. Now think about that for a minute. Chu, an SJW, believes that he is entitled to journalists, to news reporters, obeying his political predilections in everything they publish. If you sit down and analyze that, that is a very, very scary assertion to make. That is a terrifying assertion to make because it is an assertion of absolute dominance, of absolute control over the news media. The news media must say things that support my political beliefs, otherwise they're doing it wrong. So, where does this leave us? Oh, and I should point out that in connection with Pakman's interview of Brianna Wu, the absolute outpouring of outrage and bitterness and hate towards him because he asked questions that might not be comfortable for Wu to answer. And then when he asked Zoe Quinn to go on his show, the absolute outpouring of outrage and vitriol, they claimed he was harassing her just for asking her to be on the show. And then when he apologized, they claimed that apology was harassment. It's a good thing Wham wasn't in place, or David Pakman might not be on Twitter, given what Leo got added to the block list for and what other people got banned for. This is the climate these people have established. These are the standards. Be with us politically 100%, or you're a scumbag who deserves to be censored. All of the preceding rants were put together to drive me to this single point. That will be the segment for the last 6 minutes of my show, the last 4 minutes of my show. They want to censor the news media. They are censoring pros on Twitter. What do you think they will do to video games if they get the power they have been seeking? They say, these social justice warriors say, oh no, we're not looking to affect video games at all. We just want a more inclusive video game industry. We just want a more diverse video game industry. We just want people to have more colors and more sexes and more sexual orientations. We're good and normal and innocent and decent folks. That's all we're asking for, is fair representation. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you that the record at Wham, that the record on Twitter, that the record on the Blocklist and Star City Games and Shirtstorm, that the record on news media like David Pakman, that the record, and many, many, many more incidents than I can even hope to cover in this half-hour show, that the record shows that social justice warriors are, in point of fact, indubitably, without a doubt, beyond any reasonable question, censorious scumbags. They are people who want to censor that which they don't like. And given the power, they will censor video games. They will. They censor everything else. Why would they not censor video games? Why would they suddenly come up to video games and stop and say, well, we're censoring the news. Well, we're censoring Twitter. Well, we're censoring science fiction and fantasy novels. Well, we're censoring everything else we can get our grimy, grubby little claws on. But no, we won't censor video games. We'll just stop right here. I don't buy it. I don't believe it. And neither should you. We've seen Brianna Wu, I believe, I apologized if it was one of the other literally who's. We've seen them launch an attack on Assassin's Creed before it was even published, which is kind of funny, trying to, boycott Assassin's Creed Unity with politics, because so far as I have determined, the actual most effective evidence for boycotting Assassin's Creed Unity can be gained by playing Assassin's Creed Unity, because every single person who played that piece of shit wants to boycott it and wants their money back. Useless to try. But they boycotted it because it didn't have any female playable characters. They wanted to censor Ubisoft, and I can understand the impulse while not being able to endorse it. They wanted to censor Ubisoft for not completely, absolutely, 100% kowtowing to their politics. This is the same Ubisoft that has a social justice warrior on the team producing Far Cry 4, announcing that social justice politics has been inserted into that game, but that's not good enough. That's not submissive enough. They still want to censor Ubisoft, and they will do this and have done this to every other developer and publisher. If you want to know why Gamergate matters, if you want to know why this consumer revolt is significant, it is because we are busy peeling away advertisers from the corrupt media who has been co-opted, who has become allies, if not social justice warriors themselves, though many are. They are allies of social justice warriors, proven by all the articles SJWs get to write in these media organizations. People like Arthur Chu, people like Zoe Quinn writing her own article in Cracked, and so on and so forth and so forth and so on. They are censorious. They would censor. They will censor. And we will not have it in our video games. So send emails. I'm your host, Daddy Warpig, signing off for tonight. If you like the show, if you want to hear the show, more of it, subscribe to the channel, retweet it, click the little up thumb, or one of the 30 other social media buttons below. Send it out to everyone you know. Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, the Kick-Ass Geek Cast with yours truly, Daddy Warpig. One exception, there is no show tomorrow. I'm going in the hospital for an operation. There will be no show tomorrow night. Catch me on the House of Geekery, my daily geek blog, daddywarpig.com, daddywarpig.com, or follow me on Twitter at daddy_warpig, at daddy_warpig. As always, after the end of the show, I will stick links to all the important documents down below. I am your host, Daddy Warpig, Monday, November 17th, 2014, signing off. I will be back.